right, we'll go ahead and get started. Thanks everyone for joining us. We're happy to have our first Keene seminar of the 2025-26 academic year. And happy to be hosting Dr. DeAnna Leitzke. She's currently the Department Chair of Civil and Architectural Engineering and Construction Management at the Milwaukee School of Engineering. She's the founding director of their CREATE Institute and former Associate Vice President of Academic Excellence. She's been championing initiatives that create community and industry partners at MSOE. She has more than 19 years of experience educating future engineers and construction professionals, and today she's going to chat with us about embedding the entrepreneurial mindset, MSOE's ongoing journey with Keene.
Wow, thanks for that introduction. I appreciate it. I'm super happy to be here today. You will hopefully see I prefer to have things a little bit interactive, so at any time, you don't have to wait to the end to ask me a question. You can interrupt and ask questions at any time. Since we do have a small enough room, I would love to know the audience a little bit better. Could you humor me in introducing yourself and kind of your role here? Is that okay to ask you to do that?
It's your show.
Okay, I'm going to do that then.
I'm Pierre Rochelle, Department Head, Mechanical Engineering.
Is it?
Yeah, she knows me.
I've been with him the last 24 hours straight.
Yeah, so my name is Vincent. I'm a lecturer in the Mechanical Engineering Department. I'm a new faculty. This is the second semester.
Awesome.
Just start to teach.
Okay, thank you.
So I'm Jeff Hoffman. I teach in the civil department, but I teach in the construction engineering graduate program we have. But I also teach the freshman class where we do a lot of hands-on lab.
Awesome.
So,
very cool. Good to have you. Hi.
I'm Micah. I'm in mechanical. I also sometimes teach our intro class and do hands-on.
Awesome.
I'm Trinity. You met me already.
I have. Good to see you.
I'm Zach. I'm a PhD student in mechanical engineering with precision agriculture solutions.
Okay, very cool.
Mohan Bajori, new faculty lecturer.
Mechanical. I should give mechanical shout out too. I didn't mean to get too excited about the construction side.
I think it was the correct response.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Jenny. I'm the program coordinator of the biomedical engineering, and I teach our sophomore design and senior.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm assistant professor here at mechanical engineering.
Wonderful. Foundational.
Hi, I'm Prasun Divakar. I'm a faculty in mechanical, and I do use some of the key activities in my key transfer class, how to bring that and do some activities.
Awesome. Thanks.
I'm Yudis. I'm a lecturer in the engineering department. I teach software design and statics and other things probably next semester in material. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thanks.
I'm Jace. I'm a master's student in the mechanical engineering department with a specifics in fluids.
Wonderful.
I'm Alan Ronke. I'm an associate professor in mechanical engineering. I largely teach junior and senior level courses in the mechanics area and computation.
Okay, wonderful.
And some graduate courses as well.
Thanks. A nice diverse group. I love it. Well, I really got strongly involved in Keene in about 2017, and I'm going to share a little bit about that story. And I'll say one of the things that I cannot overemphasize with this amazing network is the opportunity that it gives you as a faculty member to grow, to learn from other faculty all across the country that are involved in Keene. I really don't think that I would be a department head right now had I not gotten involved with Keene when I did. The opportunities that it's presented to me have been really instrumental in me growing as a professional in higher education. So I'll just kind of start with that. And I like to say that when I went to my first Keene National Conference, or KNC, is really where I found my people, and I'll share a little bit more about that story. So I did do some research about your institution, and I will say it is strangely similar to Milwaukee School of Engineering. There are certainly some differences. Probably one of the biggest is that MSOE is a small private institution. We're not a public institution, and we don't have any doctoral degrees. We're not a PhD granting institution. Those are two really big differences between our two schools, but a lot of the other things that I was looking, and we don't have green beanies. We don't do that, but maybe we'll bring it in. I don't know. We could start that. So small private university, we have mostly engineering programs, a lot of the similar programs that you have, but we also have nursing programs and business programs at MSOE. We're a teaching-focused institution. We have a really high return on investment. That's something that we share in common. Our close ties to industry is welcome. And we do definitely have a hands-on approach. So a lot of similarities in the how we teach and our why and the day-to-day type thing. What I'm going to be talking about today is really our journey of institutional change and how Keene played a really large role in that journey. There's kind of three buckets here. Our leadership transition, I'll talk about the MSOE mindset, and then the CREATE Institute. I'm going to kind of end with some things that worked really well, some things that we learned through this process that were big wins, and then also share some works in progress and kind of share where we're going from here. So this journey started back in 2017 when we had a new president arrive on campus, not so different from where you are today. I know you have a new president back in January. Dr. Walls is who you see on the screen, and he came to MSOE back in 2017. And he was replacing Dr. Vietz, our former president, who had been MSOE's president for 24 years. We have very longevity of presidents at MSOE. And one of the things that Dr. Vietz believed in was that, or didn't believe in, were strategic plans. So his plan was the strategic plan. So we didn't do that. And one of the first things that Dr. Walls announced when he addressed our faculty and staff for the first time was that we would be going through a strategic planning process, and there were literally cheers coming from our faculty and staff. We were very excited about that process, and that is exactly what he did. I like to share this photo, even though it's not, I don't know, it looks like it's a really old photo for some reason, just the shading of it. But one of the reasons I like to share this photo is our strategic planning process was, I think, exceptional. I think that the process itself made a huge difference in how we behaved as an institution after we all went through that process. I think the plan, the outcome, the physical plan was great. It was really nice to have this physical artifact of the work that we did together, but the process itself was about a year-long process. And Dr. Walls, he's seated on the table right here. This is just a really good example of who was at the table. We have industry partners at this table. We have faculty from all parts of campus. And this is actually Josh, and he was a student at the time. So we had students involved in this process. And Dr. Walls participated just like any one of us throughout the process. So we had a third party come in and facilitate the process, but it was and staff from all around campus. This is Becky, she's our head of HR. So it was faculty and staff, industry partners, alumni, and students were all involved in our strategic planning process. And it really did bring us together as a community, all working together like that. During that process, so during that strategic planning process, we, just like a lot of leadership changes, a lot of new administrators came on board, and Dr. Baumgartner came to MSOE around the same time, just after Dr. Walls did, our new president. He was our executive vice president of academics, and he came from a Keene institution where he was really, they were living and breathing Keene at Ohio Northern University. And so he brought that to MSOE when he became kind of our provost, or a similar situation. Our organizational structure is really similar to at MSOE compared to yours. At the same time, I think of this time for MSOE where like all the stars aligned, and for me professionally too. There were all these things that were all happening all at once, and everything came together in a really beautiful way. But that strategic planning process happening at the same time, where as an institution, we were re-engaging with Keene in a much grander way. We had been a Keene partner for many years, but we weren't super active for a period of time. And we were getting more involved with Keene at the same time we were going through the strategic planning process. And the image that you see on the screen was at that point in my professional career at MSOE. I was an associate professor, and I was also serving as chair for servant leadership. So we have a chair for servant leadership at MSOE that it's a leadership development program. And what my focus on leadership development was bringing in project-based experiential learning into classes at MSOE. So finding projects that our students had the skill set to complete that serve the community in different ways. We're located in downtown Milwaukee. There's a lot of need around us, and so the number of projects, possible projects, and clients with needs around campus is really high. So it was really easy to do that, and I found that students love to learn that way, and I knew that they were getting more out of it than leadership development, but I couldn't put my finger on what that was. I couldn't articulate the other growth that I was seeing in our students from these experiences. And at my first KNC, that is the notebook that I had. I still have it. These were the notes that I started taking during that time. And all I was doing during that whole time was seeing the connection to the things that we were doing with project-based experiential learning, things that we were talking about and learning that as an institution were really important to us during our strategic planning process. All of those things I was seeing in as I was learning more about the entrepreneurial mindset and seeing all the connections and the links to all of that. And so it is kind of funny to go back and look at those notes. But at that time I was thinking about, like, we needed something centralized at MSOE to be a hub for project-based experiential learning at MSOE. That was a big piece that I was walking into that strategic planning and getting, hearing more from other people on campus that was important across campus, and then also hearing it when I went to that first KNC. So making those connections was really critical. And I say this to you because I think that the timing is pretty perfect for everybody here, right? You have a new president. You might be going through some strategic planning soon. I would highly encourage you, as that process begins, or as you start learning more about the priorities of your new leadership, where are the connections between what Keene does in the network and really helping engineering students flourish, right, through helping them develop the entrepreneurial mindset? Where are the connections between other things that are happening and other priorities on campus? So that was a really important piece of this process. From that, and so from the strategic planning process, having new leadership, getting more integrated into Keene as a network and getting more champions, more Keene champions on campus, one of the things that we realized through all of that, and really through the strategic planning process, is that we were all using different language to say a lot of the same things as far as what really made our graduates unique and special and why employers wanted to hire our graduates. So we agreed that we needed to start thinking about what that means and what it looks like. And this was the end result from that hard work to get all on the same page and start using the same language when we talked about what made our graduates unique and what we really wanted to bring forward and emphasize more of, right? Like not just who they were, but who we wanted them to be in an aspirational way. And so what you see up here is a compilation with that servant leader mindset, which was really strong and has always been really strong at MSOE, right? We want to make sure that our students are self-aware and they're community builders and they're ethical professionals. And then also the entrepreneurial mindset, which we also want to make sure that our students walk and graduate with that entrepreneurial mindset. You see that articulated often in the 3 C's, curiosity, connections, and creative value. And if we brought those two things together with the work that, no worries, that we were doing with our strategic planning and our new mission, vision, and values, and these are commitments from directly from our strategic plan, it all articulated here. And so when we talk about our graduates and what we help them from day one aspire to be is we want them to be leaders of character, responsible professionals, passionate learners, and value creators. That is a language that we use at MSOE over and over and over again, and it's something that it evolves out of that strategic planning process, recognizing that there's value in common language. There's value in when a new class of first-year students come in, whether they're wearing beanies on their heads or not, telling them, this is where we want you to go. This is what we're going to work on over the next 4 years when you're with us. And all of us as a collective at MSOE work together to ensure that our students are walking away with these characteristics. Does that make sense? So turning it and bringing it and making it our own was also a really important step in the process of institutional change at MSOE. From that, has anybody seen this before, a business model canvas? So I didn't know that there's a mission model canvas, which is more on like the nonprofit-y side, but this is a design thinking tool that is often used. So from that, we knew that if we wanted students to develop the MSOE mindset, the entrepreneurial mindset, we knew that we needed more, right? We know about institutional change, and Bowman and Deal, and the different frames, and the different aspects, and all the pieces that are necessary to really move an institution forward. And the infrastructure part of it is important, right? That's an important piece of the puzzle. And so this was about a year of my life. This is the final iteration of it. But this was me with a 11 by 17 sheet of paper as an associate professor, the director of, or the chair for servant leadership, walking around with this big idea saying, what do you think of this idea? Do you think this would make sense? Do we need this on campus? And I would literally walk around randomly asking people, asking students, asking other faculty. I just made appointments with all of our vice presidents and said, I'd like to have coffee with you. I have something that I want to share, right? And it started to gain a lot of momentum from that process. I'll share a little bit more about this process when I talk about lessons learned, because there's an important piece of the puzzle that I wish I would have done at this point that I didn't do at this point. Also, we formed a group that had been getting more involved in Keene, was also helping me through this process. But it's really interesting. I love going back to this now because that was back in 2018. And to see where we are in the process now compared to where we thought we were going to be is an interesting analysis there. So this was the value creation piece of taking the MSOE mindset and making sure that we were really institutionalizing the development of EM across campus. This was an important piece. And from there, we added the infrastructure on our campus. And it's called the CREATE Institute. the Create Institute. I became the founding director of the Create Institute in 2018. There was no institute at that point. I was a founding director of an institute that had not been, the doors had not been open for a year. That was a magical year of hiring staff, planning, figuring out who we were going to be and how we were going to serve the campus best. And then the doors opened in 2019. And I think we all know what happened that academic year. It was a pretty crazy year. So the doors opened to Create, and we were going to be the hub for project-based experiential learning. And we quickly became really the Center for Teaching and Learning, and we were the team that got everybody online with COVID. So we were open just for a few months, and man, that was serendipitous that we had something on campus. I know I was talking to Darcy here and heard about how, I'm sorry, I don't know her last name. Is that okay? I called her by her first name. Okay. And know that you had some instrumental faculty who stepped into some big roles and really helped bring campus along through that online transition. We did the same thing, extended spring break one week, and I had my first Teams call with Dr. Baumgardner. I have the recording of that call. It's the most hilarious recording. I bring it out when I need a good chuckle. So we learned how to use Teams the day before I started teaching everybody online how to use Teams. We're like, is it working? Can you hear me? What does this do? What does this do? But very serendipitous. That's kind of the direction that we went. But the Create Institute was founded out of this work. So it came from the leadership change, from the strategic planning, by making connections with Keen, finding out a way to create that value. And then the Create Institute was founded. And we had to find a bunch of champions. I love to show this picture because this is the initial team of the Create Institute. What you see here are 2 faculty members. So we brought in existing faculty members to support. Dr. Howell was working in our Humanities and Communication Social Science department. He came on to support faculty development. Doug Nelson up here was a faculty member in the Civil Engineering department, and he was the new chair for servant leadership because I was in a new role. Tira we hired, so someone outside of MSOE to focus on faculty development. And then Natalie is extra big there because she just holds a huge place in my heart because she was a former student of mine who had graduated, was working in industry teaching. She went into industry and then found a passion for education and was actually teaching PLTW classes at local high schools. And she heard about what we were doing, and she came and to lead the project-based experiential learning part of the Create Institute. So that's a really exciting moment when a former student comes and joins you in a different endeavor. And when I left the Create Institute to become chair of the Civil and Architectural Engineering and Construction Management Department, Natalie took over as the director of Create. So that's one of those beautiful full circle moments when a mentee becomes your mentor in a lot of ways. So finding champions, though, is really a critical piece of this puzzle of institutional change. And what I see in this room in front of me are a lot of key champions. And so that is an exciting piece. When I, from an outside looking in, you're doing this good work. So kind of going back to, I promised you that I would share some things that worked and some things that didn't work and all of that kind of stuff. So Create Institute Take 1, we were going to focus on curriculum integration. We were going to integrate EML into all of our classes. We were going to do that. We had a plan. That is what we are going to do, and we're going to do it through project-based experiential learning. We're going to make this work by hiring faculty fellows to help come into classrooms and support faculty that wanted to bring these projects in, and student fellows that could support these projects as well. And that was the plan. That's what we were going to do, and create the infrastructure so that we could better connect with with our clients, with community partners, and make it easier. And one of the first things that we learned was that we really needed to focus on faculty development. That one of the big barriers to bringing these projects and this new way of teaching into classrooms wasn't you don't have time. Like I kind of thought, or you couldn't find the projects, or you couldn't find the partner. That was a hypothesis that I had, right? Like I thought that was the barrier. And what I learned was it had more to do with, I don't know how to do it. It's scary to me. I like to be the one that stands up in front of the room, and I want to have all the answers. I want to know where we're going. And when I bring projects in, and when I bring this new, more of this open-ended approach into the classroom, that puts me in an uncomfortable position where I don't know where we're going, and I don't feel comfortable in that. Right? I want to go and I want to lecture and I want to be the stage on the stage, and I want to. This is my course outline, and these are the topics, and I want to cover these topics, and that feels safe and that feels comfortable. But when I start adding EML and active learning and open-ended questions and projects, right, that's out of my comfort zone. And so we learned rather quickly that faculty development and teaching faculty to bring EML into the classroom was a critical component, and that we needed to put more of an emphasis on that. So Create Institute Take Two really became our Center for Teaching and Learning as a priority, okay? Still remains our home for project-based experiential learning. This educational technology support, that's what COVID did, okay? We didn't know we needed that. This was actually one of those beautiful things that came out of it. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. And then ultimately there was an innovation center that was, there was a new residential hall building that was being built, and they were going to make this innovation or maker space. And because of the good work that we did and the fact that we were seen as institutional support and a group of faculty that could support faculty from all departments around campus, our vice president of academics asked us to facilitate and to really own this new innovation, this new maker space that was being built, which that wasn't in the original plan. We didn't know we were going to do that, but it was a really exciting outcome by having a group of faculty that were serving and supporting all faculty on campus, not just a single department. That educational technology support is kind of interesting. Our IT department, prior to COVID, had this philosophy of we're in charge of implementing new products and software and all of that we'll get it up and running, but we have really a lot of smart faculty, and the faculty should be able to figure out how to use it, right? Our faculty and staff, we don't need training. We don't need to teach them how to use things because they're smart, they know how to do this, and they can do it on their own. And so there wasn't this interface of teaching faculty to use the technology. Well then, right, COVID hit and Canvas came, and we didn't all know just naturally how to use this platform. What do you use? D2, what is it called?
Yeah, D2L.
D2L, yeah. So same thing, that's Canvas on our campus. And even better, we were in the process of moving, like we had signed the contract to move from Blackboard as our learning management system to Canvas before COVID hit. So like we had just started talking about that, and then COVID hit. So we went through a change, like a new learning management system, right at the same time that COVID was hit. That was super fun, like way to just add one other thing to the puzzle there. It was great. But what was really cool, so we hired an educational technology support specialist in Create to serve this need that came out of COVID that we need to be able to teach our faculty how to use the technology that exists to make them more effective in the classroom. And that was through the CREATE budget, but the need for that position became so obvious and so valued that IT actually ended up, that position moved over back into IT. And now we have an the same person, but she reports to IT instead of through CREATE, which really does make sense, and she does more, right? So she, like all the training of all the technology, kind of an interesting sidebar. All the things that happen organically, I guess, tend to surprise me throughout this process. So this is what CREATE is now. And I'll share some of those faculty development wins. So some of the things that we did that were really successful with the CREATE Institute and our Center for Teaching and Learning was our new faculty onboarding process. So all new faculty at MSOE, their contracts actually start 2 weeks before classes start. And so faculty come in for 2 weeks, and there's a robust agenda where they learn about Canvas, they learn about MSOE, they learn about all the things that they need to learn, but they also learn about EM, and they learn about how to be a better educator and help them with aligning their syllabus to learning outcomes and making sure that they're looking at the learning outcomes of the course when they're designing their courses and their assessments and all of that kind of stuff. Some of the really beautiful pieces that have come out of this onboarding process are that all new faculty from all different departments and programs are all coming together for 2 weeks, every day for 2 weeks before classes start. So they're forming this really magical interdisciplinary cohort of new faculty that has been really instrumental to, I think it's not unique that sometimes institutions of higher education form silos in departments, and this is my department, this is what I do here, and we're really different over here, even within same buildings, right? I could see that happening, and we saw that at MSOE by having all the new faculty come in and learn together. Those silos, after 8 years of going through this are much shorter, I'll say, and easier to navigate now because people from all across campus. And right, let's just face it, new faculty coming in, there's a lot of scariness being a new faculty. There's the imposter syndrome, or not knowing, feeling like you have to have all the answers, that you can't tell students, I don't know, but let's figure it out together, right? I say I don't know all the time when I'm in front of students now, but as a new faculty, heck no, I would never use that, right? I thought I needed to have all the answers to any question, and I had major anxiety attacks, like walking into classrooms because I didn't know what they were going to ask me, and I wanted to make sure that I had the answers to all of that. But you get a bunch of new faculty from all different departments sharing those concerns, talking through those things together. That's a really beautiful cohort to develop. So that has worked really, really well. And I'll say that initially that was funded out of the CREATE Institute, and there was a Keen grant helped us get the CREATE Institute off the ground. So it is initially grant funded, but after the first year of that onboarding, the Office of Academics saw how incredibly helpful it was and needed it was, that it got moved into the Office of Academics. Now it's just a standard practice as a new faculty that your contract starts 2 weeks before classes start. We also have a really great faculty mentor program that started around the same time. So these are mentors that are within your department. So we ask department heads who will be the mentor for all of their new faculty. And then we create a lot of different opportunities. There's training for the mentors, and then there's funding for the mentors to take the mentees out to lunch. We host different events for those to really just build that community between mentor and mentee. And as that has been really successful. The weekly workshops and brown bag lunches, the workshops this is something that hasn't, there's been a lot of different iterations. of this, but it has worked really well, and I'll share a few things around that. So the brown bag lunches, that's an easy thing to put together, and it costs absolutely nothing. It's what I like, a term that I use all the time is that I like to create a place and a space for organic collaboration. I do it with our students in the department. I do it with our faculty and staff within the department. I think it's really important bringing people together and just giving them a chance to be together and have whatever conversations they need to have, but giving them the structure to do that. And it's simply, hey, we have a brown bag lunch once a week. Come bring your lunch. Every now and then we bake something and make it a little bit special. But that has been super successful, and getting faculty from all around campus to come together. The workshops, one of the things that I'm going to just say about workshops is that I don't think MSOE is unique, but faculty really, it's great to learn from other faculty. I think that is something that we learn, that there are certain, even with onboarding, our assistant director of faculty development will lead certain sessions, but also we try to bring in faculty to lead sessions as well. So learning from other faculty, either on campus or from other campuses, kind of like what we're doing today, seems to be a really effective way to make this happen. So faculty fellows is something that we formed. It didn't work exactly as planned there, and I can share a little bit more, but there's a lot of different structure around this. We formed some learning communities, one in Teams and one in Canvas. Again, opportunities for faculty from all parts of campus to ask questions of other faculty from all parts of campus. So Teams is a great way to do that. It's a platform that works really well to make that happen. The educational technology specialist role, I talked about that already. And then faculty scholars or fellows has been helpful as well. So that is bringing faculty who want to be champions of Keene, right? And bringing them together to learn from each other, but being strategic that they're kind of in all departments around campus has been a really helpful piece of the puzzle too. So those have been some good faculty wins. And then I'll say faculty development work in progress. Our faculty fellows, at first, we paid them. So do you want to be a faculty fellow? There was a really nice stipend. We had some faculty fellows that joined that program because they believed in the mission, they believed in the purpose, they understood the why, and they really wanted to help other faculty embed EML into their classes and help our students develop the entrepreneurial mindset. And I would say some probably did it more because the stipend looked very attractive. And so it wasn't kind of equal as far as why they joined the program, I don't think was exactly equal initially. But we've tried different iterations of that. And I will say that just like faculty need training to walk into a classroom and be a really impactful and effective educator, to be a champion, to be a change agent, I think there's training that needs to happen there as well too. And so finding an opportunity to integrate some training into that was something that we've learned, and we've tried different iterations here, and we're still working through it. The community of practice model, we've tried, one of the things I say all the time is I'll pilot just about anything. Let's try it. Let's try it for a year. We'll try something new. Maybe it will work, maybe it won't work. But we know, we won't know if we don't try. So we'll give it a shot. So the community of practice thing we've tried too. So that's bringing faculty together around a similar topic. So is it about embedding EML into undergraduate research? Is it about bringing EM into a specific discipline, or first year design classes or senior design classes, right? Like, so bringing faculty together to have those discussions all across. And I think as far as lessons learned there, what we're finding is you need a champion to guide that process, that whole a space in place and it's going to be organic and it's all going to happen magically. If you really want some strong outcomes, you need some champion who's going to guide that and have some accountability for guiding the community of practice towards those goals. And then we're working on part-time faculty development. Do you have a lot of part-time? I didn't ask that question. Do you have a lot of part-time faculty here? It's mostly full-time faculty. Okay. We have a lot of part-time faculty at MSOE. We have a lot of faculty who work full-time in industry and then teach kind of these niche courses, especially in the evenings, and finding a way to make sure that right, just because you're an expert in whatever it is, right, robotics doesn't mean you're going to be an expert at teaching robotics. And so we know that our adjuncts need some faculty development, but it's hard when you're on a part-time contract. Like, do we host those things in the morning, at noon? Is that an evening thing? How do you get them to come? Because they're not really going through like a promotion and tenure process or things like that. So how do you make that work? We're still working on that. I was hoping you could give me some great ideas, but I guess you're not the group to give me those great ideas. Rewards. So how to motivate faculty to get involved in this type of work. These are some things that we've learned. So we give a lot of social media shout outs. I don't know anybody that doesn't like to be recognized for the good work that they're doing, and social media is a really easy way to do that. So finding ways to, like for something like this, taking a photo of everybody in the room and saying, hey, look at all these amazing educators that came together today to learn to be better educators together. That's kind of a cool thing, right? And so just sharing that out, we do a lot of that kind of stuff. We have a lot of faculty who have their professional engineering license and they need PDH hours. And so tying in the development or the workshops or faculty development and giving them an opportunity to earn some of those hours is something that we found to be successful. There's funding, right? So especially right now, it seems like a lot of institutions are cutting dollars that go towards professional development. So Keen is a really, really, really great way to continue to offer professional development to faculty, even when some of those budget cuts are happening. So through support dollars, the annual dollars that come, but there's really great Engineering Unleashed faculty development during the summer. How many of you have gone to those, the EUFD workshops? Oh, rock stars. They're great, right? And each institution gets to send so many faculty every year free of charge. That's a great thing. But there's also funding to be able to send more. That's a huge win. And as far as gaining traction across campus, that's a great way to get other department heads excited, because if they can't send their faculty because they don't have the funding, well, maybe this is a way, hey, I know I couldn't send you to that conference, but go to this conference. And really, again, finding your people at things like the EUFDs and the KNC, the national conference, those are great ways to really access the network and learn from the network and grow with the network. Also to attend different conferences, like ASEE is a great one. We use our funding to send faculty to ASEE as long as they're what they're presenting on or working towards while they're there is related to the entrepreneurial mindset development in our students. So once EM gets integrated everywhere, then it's much easier to find those connections and to use that funding to support those things. And then connected through promotion and contract renewal. So we don't have tenure at MSOE. Maybe that's another one that's kind of unique, but it makes MSOE, I think, really unique to a lot of institutions, because most do have tenure. So we have long-term contracts at MSOE. So if you're a ranked faculty, an assistant professor has a 4-year contract, an associate professor has a 6-year contract, and a full professor has an 8-year contract. So every 8 years as a full professor, I still have to go through what we affectionately call our PEAS process. It's a weird name, but it's a process to renew our contract. So we put together a really detailed booklet of all the good things that you've done in professional, in scholarship and research and teaching. More than 50% of our evaluation comes from how we teach, and then we have scholarship and service, but we value the scholarship of teaching and learning, and like attending things like UFD workshops count towards scholarship for our faculty. So that's something that we write into our program specific contract renewal, right? Every department kind of gets to say what they value, and we value faculty who want to become better educators. And so that's an important piece of the puzzle. And also for promotion. So annual reviews, when I sit down, I'm running into annual review time right now, super fun, love it. Only wish we could create more hours in any given day. During that process, I look at how, what are you doing for faculty development? What did you attend KNC? Did you go to UFDs? Did you attend these workshops that are being offered in Create? Right, those are questions that as a chair I ask faculty in our department. So those are the good rewards. And then curriculum integration, I'll just say a couple things here. We ended up getting a second grant from the foundation, from Keene, to then, once Create was established, to really integrate into our curriculum. Initially, we started with more as a faculty, you could apply for a mini grant. You could say, I want to build out a module into my class to help students develop EM, and you could apply for this mini grant. But we were doing it on a faculty to faculty basis. And so it was getting embedded, so maybe in one of those thermal classes or fluids classes, you would teach your class that way, but there could be another faculty that wasn't using that same module, right? So that was something that we shifted in the second iteration. And we kind of started down this road before we did a lot of robust faculty development. And so we learned that if you're going to get this mini grant, you're going to have to go through some training before you start developing or integrating into your class. So those were some things that we learned. And so from that, one of the big things that we've done is we reimagined our general education program at MSOE. So our common learning outcomes at an institutional level are now aligned with the MSOE mindset. So they're aligned with EM. And that was a game changer. It's not easy, takes time, we're working through it, but that was something that's where we headed with this. And then the curriculum integration grants, you either have to be a course coordinator or work with a course coordinator to be able to do that, so that you're integrating a class learning outcome. A learning outcome at a class level now needs to be aligned to the entrepreneurial mindset in order to get those grants. Does that make sense? A little bit different shift. And then EduSource, I won't go into too much detail. Look that up if you're interested in project-based experiential learning. That's the platform that we use to share these opportunities across campus. So we learned that everybody needs to learn what opportunities exist, and we developed, or we implemented a platform that allowed us to do that. Okay, so this is my last slide. This is my other nugget slide. Why not end on another nugget slide? So I will have some time for questions too. Get students involved as champions. That's where, I'm sure every institution is like this. If you get a bunch of faculty in a room and nobody's agreeing on what to do, what's the question you need to ask? What's best for our students, right? We're all here for our students. That's why we're here. So when we get students involved and they become champions, it's students that want and ask for this in their classes. That's smart, right? That's a good way to go. So get students involved as champions. Sustainable change takes time. I am so impatient. I'm like, now. Please don't take this the wrong way. I don't know how to say it without, please don't take it the wrong way. But when COVID hit and all that change had to happen really fast, the fact that that things were moving quickly and we were making decisions was like just so beautiful. Everything else about COVID was absolutely horrible, but it was like, oh yeah, we're moving, we're doing stuff. This is awesome. That is my personality. Like, let's try it. Let's pilot it. Let's go. Why do we all have to sit and talk about it for 8 hours? Let's just try. And if it doesn't work, we'll do something different. But like, sometimes you can just talk yourself in a circle and you never move forward, right? But if it's going to be sustainable, it's going to take time. So I will say that is huge. I should have added this bullet. Do you remember I showed you that mission model canvas? Okay. So one of the things that I didn't realize I was doing at the time when I was walking around and asking for everybody for their opinion is, I know Pierre, but I don't really know you. So I'm going to ask Pierre, and I'm going to ask Mike. I was asking people that, not intentionally, but like-minded individuals on campus. If I were to do it all over again, I would have gone and sat down with every naysayer, everyone that I thought was not going to like it. I would have been brave enough and courageous enough to have all of those discussions right from the get-go. And it took me a long time to admit that I did that or even recognize that I did that, right? It was not intentional. It's just human nature, right? You're going to sit down with people that you know. I'm sure you're a lovely person, but I just don't know you, right? Like, but to have those conversations, that's a comfort level thing. So when I went for it, like, at first I was like, everybody loves this. Whole entire campus is like, yay, yes, everything is perfect. Everybody loves it. And that wasn't the case, right? There were people that didn't like what we were doing, that weren't happy about what we were doing. But I didn't create a space for those people to let me know. And I also made the assumption that if I talked to someone that I saw as a leader in a department, I assumed that you were talking to other people in your department, and I was hearing everybody's voice. So I felt like I was really intentional about getting everybody's voice and everybody's input, but in hindsight, I could have done a much better job at that. And then celebrate every win, big or small. Anybody that knows me knows I love a good party. I love a good celebration, and I don't need much to find an excuse to celebrate just about anything. Like, it's Tuesday, let's celebrate. I think those things are important to have those celebrations, and every little win makes a big difference. I'm sorry, I talked longer than I thought. I hope that that was useful. Does anybody have questions? Yeah.
Well, thank you for the talk today. I was wondering, your strategic mission plan is interesting because it looks a lot different than ours, but we don't have anything about certification or I don't think you have this anywhere near ours. But I was wondering, you say the students all know the goal. I don't think our students perhaps have ever looked at our strategic plan. How do you communicate that to students?
So what they look at is the mindset, and what I showed you was the MSOE mindset. Our strategic plan is different. It looks similar to yours. We have KPI dashboard. We got all that, right? But what that means, the MSOE mindset, a really good way to articulate it is we knew that we needed to also tell our students where we wanted to go, and we tell them where to go, where we want them to go through the MSOE mindset. And that's something that I think the analogy that I always hear is that often in higher ed, we teach students the ingredients to things, but we never tell them the cake. We don't show them the cake. Like, this is the big picture of where we want you to go, and we're going to do it through all of these different little pieces. So, like the cake being the MSOE mindset, and maybe all the little pieces being the CLOs, those common learning outcomes, and the MSOE mindset, right? So we are very intentional about even when prospective students come on big student days, I show them the MSOE mindset. Say, this is where we want you to go. You know why we want you to go there? Because that is what our employers want. They want to hire graduates who are leaders of character, responsible professionals, passionate learners, and value creators. Because this is what's going to set you apart and make you successful, not just next year, not just 2 years after you graduate, but 20 years after you graduate, you're still going to be thriving because you have this mindset. So showing them the cake is you're not alone if you don't, right? Like a lot of places don't, but I would highly recommend that you do that.
So I'll share, like last time I was on MSOE campus, which is what, a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. They were walking around campus and they have banners on the light poles.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Celebrating the mindset, right? Each of the 4 dimensions on it, right? It was on, you go to the bookstore and you bought something, it was on the outside of the bag. I mean, it was just, it's all over.
Okay, so we, I don't know if you're familiar with Epics that started at Purdue.
Mm-hmm.
It's another experiential program.
Yep, well worth.
And we started one here, like, probably before 2018 or something. And it was successful in the fact that the students had a good time in it, but it didn't have institutional support at the end, and so it died. It also took a lot of extra effort from a select amount of faculty, and we couldn't get other faculty to get involved because they weren't going to get rewarded for it. So I know you've talked about some strategies about, like, you have to start almost from the top down a little bit with some of this stuff, but what are some other strategies if we were to try to do something like that again?
So to this day, anytime I have an idea and I want to pitch it to leadership and I want to move forward and I want to get the support of administration or our leadership team, I tie it to our strategic plan, right? So that is crucial. And I hope that you do get a chance to go through that planning process with your new president. Volunteer to be part of that committee. Sit and be a part of it, right? Raise your hand, insert yourself, right? Like, I'm really good at doing that, right? Hey, I heard that this is happening, I'd like to be there. And then align it to the strategic plan. Or if there isn't a strategic plan, like I know your president just talked about high quality teaching as being a priority. And I know that the prior president really wanted to become an R2 institution. Yeah. So like if I'm talking to somebody who really wants this institute, like mines to be an R2 institution, I'm going to tie whatever it is. How does EPICS help us become an R2 institution, right? Frame it in that way. It's finding out what is that leader's priority and then aligning whatever it is that you want to do to that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I have 2 questions. One ties in with Chris said. What are the reasons, and in terms of monies, where do you get your funding? Because indeed we had a president that pushed R2. The big roadblock is that we don't have the money really and the resources to establish that. And this initiative sounds great as well, but it also sounds expensive. And there's a big difference between us and you. We are a state institution.
That is a big difference.
I've been here now for 12 years, and this is always the roadblock, is money.
Yeah. So I don't know, I don't know everything about public institutions. Keene, as a network, there's funds available there. So you can get involved with Keene, and if you go to those EUFD summer workshops, you can apply to be a Keene fellow, and you can get, I don't know how much money it is, but it's
But in your
10?
case,
You get 10, yeah.
May I ask, I just want to know, in your case, a lot of the funding comes from your institution, am I right?
In a lot, we've received a few grants from the Kern Family Foundation through Keene. So at an institutional level grants, that is something that I don't know how many more they're giving out at this point, but it's worth a conversation, right? The one thing that we used to do all the time at MSOE, I'm going to share it a little bit differently, is say, what can we do with the funding that we have? We have this much. What can we do with this bucket? This is our budget, right? I will say that I've pushed really hard and have been very successful of saying, what do we need to do for our students? What do they need? Let's be aspirational, folks. Let's figure out what our students need and put that plan together. and then make a business model campus, right? And figure out what it is. Do the hard work, right? There's so much money out there. There are so many foundations that want to support good projects, that good programs, good initiatives that are supporting students. I mean, look at all the students that you have here, and what do all of the companies that are coming today say? We need more students. We need to graduate more students. You don't think if you put together the world's best proposal to increase enrollment and increase retention and increase your graduation rate so that you are graduating more professionals, you don't think you're going to find a company that wants to support that? Baloney. You'll find it. You'll find the money. It's out there. You just have to have a good plan and have it articulated and show the value of it, and you will find someone to give you that money.
Okay. The other question I have is, I'm somewhat familiar with these kind of, the theme that we have. I used to work at the University of Kansas.
Yeah.
And there was a center of teaching excellence.
Yeah.
So I recognize a lot of elements that I was exposed to. There as an incoming faculty, you had to go to the center, and I agree, it was a great experience. I've learned a lot from that. The one difference I see with this initiative is this emphasis on entrepreneurship. Now, while I'm not against, having students be exposed and learn entrepreneurship, but how much of that is the focus in terms of their forming? I also want to educate scholars.
Yeah.
I also want to educate people that might not be a leader, but they're damn good on the job. Let me put it that way.
Yeah.
I'm sometimes a little bit like, not everybody can be a captain.
Yeah. I'm so glad you asked that question, because we're not focused on entrepreneurship. We're not focused on developing entrepreneurs. We are focusing on developing engineering students, engineering graduates who have the entrepreneurial mindset, which is different. It's about becoming a better engineer, right? We believe that students that have the entrepreneurial mindset, that are curious about the changing world, that can make connections beyond just traditional connections, and that focus on creating value in everything they do, are going to be better engineers. That's what we believe. That's what Keen is about. It's not about developing entrepreneurs. That's not. It's just a word. It's the mindset that helps you become a better engineer.
So I guess the emphasis more that entrepreneurship is not emphasized enough, I guess, as part of the educational process. That's why Keen, because it's one of the CAP titles. That's why.
Yeah, but it's the entrepreneurial mindset. It's not entrepreneurship. Those are two different things.
Oh, okay.
They just use that word. It's not like here we go in business.
Mm-hmm. And honestly, and I know I'm being recorded, that's part of the reason that we use the phrase MSOE mindset. Okay. And we made it our own, because there were people against this word entrepreneurship, because there's some people that have a knee-jerk reaction to it. I don't want, right?
Sounds a little Hitler yoga text.
Yeah, but also, why would companies want us to produce graduates who are going to become entrepreneurs and not work for them? Like, that's not what this is about.
All right. Well, we need to cut it off here. We're already 5 minutes late, so thank you
I'm
again.
sorry.